Hi, I'm attorney Renee Osipov with Chelle Law, and we assist nurse practitioners with employment contract issues. Today, I'm talking about how a nurse practitioner should negotiate their employment contract. So, there's many ways about going about this, I like to start with how much leverage do you have? And when I mean leverage, I mean are you just out of school and have no experience? So you're going to need a lot of training and support. Then you're going to have less leverage. Are you experienced in this specialty? Have you worked there for many years? You're not going to need much training. You can kind of hit the ground running. And then you're going to have more leverage. Also, you want to consider it depends on which state you're in. As you know, nurse practitioners, your scope of practice kind of depends on which state you're in. If you're in Arizona, you have a lot of autonomy and you need less supervision and oversight. More states, it's more likely that you would need either a supervising physician for depending on what kind of services you're going to be providing. So you kind of want to also think about, how much experience do you have? How much training is going to be required? And how much supervision is needed in your state? So that kind of gives you where you are on the leverage scale. Normally you're provided with an agreement, so they're going to hand you either an offer letter, letter of intent, or they'll just start with the employment agreement. And it's going to have their terms listed on there. Now, these are negotiable. It's customary in your industry that when you receive a contract that there's a little bit of back and forth. So then you're going to look at the document itself and you're going to see what's important to you and what do you want to kind of use your leverage to negotiate. So most people start with your base compensation because, when you're starting a new job, that's what you're really thinking about is the money. And I totally get that. It's exciting. It's attractive when you see that number on there and you want to ask for more. But I actually start with the non-compete clause. First of all, are you in a state where a non-compete clause is enforceable? If you are, I would read that very carefully, and that's the first thing I would negotiate. And the reason why I say that is because if you have an overly restrictive non-compete and your employment ends with this employer, do you have to move out of state? I mean, are there options for you? Do you know if you're going to be in violation of this non-compete or not? That's what I would first negotiate. Non-competes are normally for either 1 to 3 years. I would definitely try to negotiate it down to at least a year, if not 6 months. And then the area, you want to consider if this job ends, are you going to stay in the area? And if the answer to that is yes, I would definitely negotiate that restricted area down, the mileage down. And then also, if there are multiple locations, you should try to negotiate it to only attach to your primary location. So I think non-compete clauses, in my opinion, are the first thing that I would try to negotiate. And then I would kind of go from there. So then you can kind of decide on your salary if you want to negotiate more. A lot of people have different strategies. They never, say yes to the first number. If you feel uncomfortable with it, you can reach out to the employer and ask if they're open to negotiating that amount. You can kind of do your research. You can speak with a contract review attorney, such as myself. We're very familiar with the industry, so we kind of know the ranges for your salary. But when you're negotiating your compensation, you do want to take into account not just that base number, but any type of bonuses, signing bonuses, relocation bonuses, any type of quality assurance or, production, patient encounters. I mean, they really vary. The scale is huge on the extra compensation you can get. So you not only want to think about your base salary, but you want to think about it in relation to all those other bonuses that you could potentially be receiving. So we've gone over the non-compete. I feel like that's the most important when you're negotiating. And then your salary or compensation. Then I would probably go to sort of other benefits. I would try to negotiate that they're going to be giving you some type of CME, continuing medical education allowance. Typically, that's anywhere for nurse practitioners from like 2,000 to 4,000. You definitely want to negotiate this amount because you're going to have, this is something you have to do annually to keep your license valid. So your employer should be giving you some type of allowance for this. And then also, I would definitely negotiate any type of licensing fees, dues for professional organizations, and for sure your DEA license if you're able to have one in your state, because DEA licenses are expensive and that price just keeps going up. So those sort of like ancillary benefits or, business expenses are something that you also want to kind of keep on your radar. Don't just negotiate your salary. You got to think bigger than that. Another thing sometimes is negotiated. It depends. You can look at your without cause termination. So that means, you can give notice and then, terminate your employment. You normally have to give notice anywhere from 60 to 90 days. That's pretty standard. However, I have seen in some rural areas or high demand areas sometimes, or high need areas, sorry, the notice period is anywhere from 120 to 180 days. So that means you give notice, you want out, but you have to stay there for 120 days. So that's another thing I'll negotiate down to, at the very least, 90 days, because that gives everybody plenty of time to fill your position, especially if there's some bad blood there. You don't want to be forced to hang around in a place that you don't feel comfortable with for such a long period of time. So there's lots of things you can negotiate in an employment contract. Sometimes the employer will tell you this is standard for all physicians, but I don't think it hurts to still ask for what you think you deserve, especially non-competes. Don't forget about your non-competes. Your compensation, and don't just think that base salary. You got to think about your bonuses as well, and then business expense reimbursement. Let's see, and then just sort of benefits. But normally benefits are non-negotiable because they are standard. It's just these are the benefits: health insurance, disability, life insurance, and that is normally standard. That I would say is probably not negotiable. But everything else, you want to take into consideration altogether. So if you would like more information on this, you can check out our website, Chelle Law. We also have more videos. We have tons of content you can take a look at. And then also, if you ever want a consultation, you can send us your contract and we'll let you know, kind of where you are, what you should ask for, explain it to you so you fully understand what you're signing. So yeah, check us out. Thanks.